All right, we now welcome on a very special guest to Red Raider Nation. He is the head coach of the Texas Tech men's basketball team, Mark Adams, joining us now. Coach Adams, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So before we get into this year, I want to start with last year. You had a roster of 5 players, built everything up from scratch, and ultimately you guys make the run that you did all the way to the Sweet 16. I know you weren't surprised about the effort that your guys put into that season, but were you surprised at maybe the national surprise of how successful you guys were right from the jump?
You know, when you're looking back and see how far this team, how they from start to finish, it was a very special group of guys. And Adonis, Arms, and Davion Warren, and then just Bryson Williams, those guys, how hard they played, how they committed they were to winning, and then making the adjustment from transferring in was just amazing. But yeah, it was a great team. But it just reminded you how important that everybody get along, that connection that they had, and it was a fun team to coach. So yeah, it's a team that's because of the work they did and their performance, it's going to make this year something to look forward to. And if we can honor those guys and play the way that they did, we'll have hopefully a good year.
Again, something also pretty similar from last year. A lot of new faces on the team again. 5 freshmen, 5 transfers in. When you're out on the recruiting trail, it seems the general brand of Texas Tech basketball is their overall toughness. How do you recruit a guy based off their toughness? And when you're looking at a guy, do you know, yeah, that guy has what it makes to be a Red Raider?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. One is that we're looking for those right guys, those guys that fit into to West Texas and embrace that attitude of toughness and mentality of coming to work every day with your hard hat and on and your lunch pail and because that's what West Texas is all about. The other side of that is we have a lot of guys that gravitate to that want to come here because they really admire and appreciate the identity we have, our culture, and playing defense and playing tough. So, and that's what we've gone after, and hopefully we'll be fortunate enough to have these same type of group that moves forward, that mindset of toughness and grit and determination.
And with all those new faces, how beneficial is it to have those guys like KO, Bacho, and KJ all back?
Well, it's always great to have guys back that can remind these new guys, this is what we're about, this is our identity, this is who we are, and then they help us defend that culture and remind those young guys that here's our standard, here's our expectations, and you need to get on board. And so it's good to have the new guys that have the right attitudes, but certainly having these old guys that already understand it, and we already have that root system in place to grow the team with.
I don't think it's a secret that you're a very defensive-minded coach, but if you had the opportunity to build your ideal defender, what type of qualities should that player have, and how would it work, especially in a defense like yourself?
One of the things that that's probably something that the fans don't really know, and even some of our former players know, but we're always trying to recruit offense first. We can make them play defense, but the skill set to be able to shoot the ball, dribble it, and pass it is something that takes years and years to develop. So we feel like that if they're just a guy that wants to play defense, is willing to do that, has the toughness about him, and that right attitude. We say, hey, we want fighters that play basketball, but has that fighting mindset, then we can make them play defense. Now, the ideal player, I'd love to have someone, kind of like a Daniel Bacho, someone that's the bigger the better, it's athletic and long and has some toughness about him so he can guard out on the floor and block shots. Now, that'd be a perfect team for me to have about 4 or 5 of those guys.
A couple 7-footers, not too bad. You got a couple this year, too. But you just said it yourself. You guys want to be fighters that play basketball. How big has cross-training been for you guys this offseason, especially since it seems like you guys are actually getting in the ring and doing some boxing?
We have been. We're just so blessed to have a guy in Darby Rich, our strength and conditioning coach. He's just fabulous. He's hands down, in my opinion, the best in the country, and so he's already doing a lot of work ahead of time for me and our staff, just in building that warrior mentality, getting those guys to think and look and be tougher and stronger. And some things we do, we'll take them to the gym and they'll work on the speed bag and the heavy bag, and along with doing some we'll do stuff at the football field, we'll do some stuff in the sandbox and different things to different types of ways to get them tougher.
I think Kevin said earlier today that he's the best boxer on the team. Who would you say is the best boxer?
Well, he hadn't fought me yet, so he may think he is, but no, I do. You know, for KO, he's really been adamant about going to the gym. So is Bryson Williams, and I think it's helped both those guys with their overall athleticism, their hand speed, and their agility with their feet.
When you have the opportunity this year, after proving what you guys can do last year, to get in all these players that really fit the mold that you're trying to build, what do you think Texas Tech is going to look like this year? What's going to be maybe similar from last season? What's maybe going to be a lot different?
Well, I think any coach, a lot of times you recruit to your weaknesses instead of your strengths. And I thought last year some of the things that we needed to get better at, one was three-point shooting. And so hopefully we'll have a team that's going to be a little better from the three-point line. And then the second thing, other than three-point shooting, is just ball handling. We had a team that turned the ball over than what we should. So at least we're keeping our fingers crossed, but hope we have a team that's more efficient on that end. And we still think we'll be able to hang our hat on the defense.
You mentioned three-pointers right there. You've brought in a longtime friend of yours, Steve Green, to the program. What's it been like having him with such a pedigree in JUCO basketball and your affinity to JUCO basketball, having your two brains meshing together?
Yeah, beside him being a little cantankerous and hard-headed, the thing about Coach Green is that he's going to tell me what he thinks, and so he's very truthful, and I trust him, and we've got a great relationship and go way back. But I do have tremendous amount of respect for his basketball IQ. I think his offensive mindset and what he's been able to do with his teams at South Plains College, and so I think we're going to see a much better offensive team. We're going to be a little more aggressive. I think we'll have good spacing, and I like the way our offense is progressing at this point.
Who do you think is going to be the most surprising player on this team this year, and who's maybe surprised you the most during the offseason?
You know, I think the best compliment you can give a player that that is improving each day, and that's always our goal, is to win the day by getting better. Daniel Bacho, it would be one, but we've already talked about him. It's how good he was in the summer, but he'll certainly, I think, could be a pleasant surprise for our fans to see play. And then, we've got, got some of our freshmen they haven't got to see. Pop Isaacs is a talented player, and I think his ability to pass the ball is unique and elite. So I think the fans are really going to enjoy that. And then we have, several three-point shooters. Damarian Williams is one, and Davion Harmon is another that I think you're going to see, and Davion's a great defensive player, and then I think one of our best three-point shooters is Kerwin Walton from North Carolina. So he's a guy that I don't know, he may be the best three-point shooter in the Big 12 this year, but he can really shoot the ball.
We had the chance to talk with a couple of your players earlier today, and it seems like the common thread between all of them that they said they want to leave Texas Tech better than they found it. And that's high praise from guys that have only been here 1 year, guys that are just starting with the program. How are you able to instill pride in a team that early on in the process?
Well, that's great to hear that, because we talk to these guys. Everybody's got their own story, and it's how they write that story, and we want that story to be about we and not me, and about how do you get your teammates better, and along with that, you want to honor and respect the coaches and players that have come here before them. So it's certainly mature for them to say that, and I feel the same way. We'd like to leave this program better than we found it, and as a coach, I'd like to do the same.
Coach, top 25 for you guys right now. Not a lot of expectations for you last year, a lot more this year. What do you think the ceiling could be for this team?
Well, that top 25, it's always great to get recognized, and might be a little bit generous with only one starter back out of. But what I think it talks about not as much more as this basketball team, but our program and just the reputation it has, and the respect that a lot of the critics and experts around the country. And so it's nice to have that reputation, but it's going to be a tall order and a huge challenge for us. But I like these guys. I think we've got a high ceiling, a lot of potential, and if we work together and get connected and have that chemistry, I think we can have a great year.
Right around the corner, folks. November 7th at the United Supermarkets Arena. Coach Mark Adams, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.